for the month.
Okay. Can do that.
Hi, everybody. This is Harvey Louie, and my guest today is Joe Cusimano.
Yeah.
Hey, Joe, how do I know you?
Oh my gosh. Well, we were neighbors in Cypress from about 1970, I'd say. And I think you were, I don't know what you were, 10, 11 years old, I think. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
maybe
probably
older.
about 11 years old,
Yeah,
10.
yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Just
God.
moving into the Cypress neighborhood.
Just moving in. Yeah.
We were at 11614 in Manila.
116.
And what was your address?
24. We were 24. 11624.
24?
Yeah.
So next door neighbors.
Yep.
On the same side of the street.
Same side of the street.
Frank and Josephine Louie,
Yeah.
my parents.
Yeah.
And then you.
And I had my wife Linda and 3 kids, Kurt, Kim, and Louis. And they were all, well, Louis was just a little boy. He was born in 67, so he was only 3, and Kimmy was like 5, and Kurt was, let's see, he was probably 6. Yeah.
Yeah.
Young.
And where did you guys come from?
We came from Manhattan Beach. We were in his house in Manhattan renting for quite a while. We're busy, very busy street. And my cousin Charlie, he said to me, you should buy a house out here. I said, oh man, I don't know if I can afford a house out there.
And how much was the house?
It was $23,500.
Yeah, and I think my dad paid about, I don't know, 19,500 or
he was there the year
17,500.
before. Well, they had 2-bedroom houses out there that were selling, 2-story, 2-bedroom houses that were selling for $18,000. Yeah.
And that was, let's see, I don't really remember when we moved, but I think it was probably after, summertime at the beginning of summer.
And where did you guys come from?
Well, we were living on
We weren't too
just
far
off
away.
of Cerritos Avenue,
Yeah.
renting a home, because I remember when we used to live in Sacramento, California, the state capital. And over the Easter holiday break, the 1-week break, we moved from Sacramento down to Cypress
Yeah.
and started living in a rental property. And that was April until whenever the summer break
Yeah.
was, so about 3 months.
I know that, I remember your dad worked very close too. What was it, Douglas, was it?
Yeah, McDonnell Douglas.
Yeah, so.
He was working in the Sacramento plant.
Yeah, so that was, and the fact that that place couldn't have been no more than about 3 miles from your house, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah,
It was even that far.
yeah.
It's a great, great location.
And so he's only a few miles from the Huntington Beach plant.
Yeah.
And, that was all of probably no more than 5 miles away.
And there was nothing there but that plant, not much.
Yeah,
no
not
homes,
much.
nothing.
Yeah.
That whole area. Matter of fact, the street, when we moved in, the main street there was 2 lanes going, I guess it's north and south, and hard to believe. And now it's like 6 lanes long. Yeah.
What I remember about the old neighborhood when we first moved in is that tract that we lived in, that tract was part of a farm, a dairy farm.
Yeah.
And I guess the farmer was slowly selling out,
It sure was.
piecemealing, his equipment,
Yep.
or his parcel out. But the dairy itself and a little bit of the cow farmland was still in it.
Still there. We had the dairy there. You drive through
Yeah,
dairy.
the drive-through dairy.
And I remember that farmer back there, he was taking down one of his sheds that was protecting the hay. And it was about, I'd say it was about 20 feet high. And he had 6x6s holding it up, and he took them all down. And I said, what do you want to sell those? He says, sure. And I think I bought a 6x6 by about 20 foot. I think I gave him $20 for it. That's all he wanted. He said, just get it. How many do you want? So I took that and I built my patio cover in the back with it. Yeah. It's amazing what went on there. And then of course we had the cows in the back for a couple of years. And that was always a thrill. I had no fence. I was one of the few people who didn't have a fence in my yard, because that way we could cut across to the dairy. And then we'd hit golf balls back there. Tony Martinez and Bill and myself, and the kids would go chase the golf balls, and they'd pick them up, and then we'd give them a penny apiece for them. so it was fun. It was really fun, and everybody was pretty much the same. They're all pretty much the same age, same age kids, and yeah, it was a great neighborhood.
So if Louis was about 8 years old, 6 years old?
No, Louis he was born in '67, so he was just 3.
Oh, 3.
Yeah, he was 3 years old.
And then you, as dad, how old were you at that point?
Well, let's see. I was, what year is that? 70? I would be 20 with 43 from 70. What the hell is that?
43 from 70.
27?
That's
Yeah.
7 and
Yeah.
27.
27, yeah.
27 with the 3-year-old kid.
Yep.
And then Kimmy and Kurt.
Yeah. They were all, like I say, Kurt was born in '64, so he was 6. So Kimmy had to be pretty close to 5, so he came right after, and then Louis a couple years later.
Yeah.
I can't believe, when I think about it, I can't believe they were that young. Yeah.
And strangely, I know that the Louis family were the oldest kids on the block, and that you were probably almost next in line because everybody else, the Martinezes and, just those 5 or 6 families right around, our houses, probably maybe didn't even have kids yet.
Yeah, well, they didn't have Danielle. They had Mike, because Mike was about the same age as Louis. Danielle came a couple years later, yeah. And Slippers, I don't know.
Yeah, I think they're 10 years younger almost than us.
Yeah.
Slippers, they lived across the street from us.
Yeah, I think he was about, Scott, I think Scott was the same age as Kurt, so he was about 6. And and then Kenny Knopp and his sister. That's pretty much the original group started. It's pretty much, and everybody else was just moving around. Yeah.
And how long do you remember how long you lived actually on Manila Street in Cypress?
I do. Well, the house itself we owned from, it's from 1970 till to 2000, I think, is when we sold that house. Yeah. 2000, no, it wasn't 2000. Yeah, till about 2000. We moved in 95 and then we sold it in 2000. We moved there from the earthquake. Jeannie and I went through that earthquake, and lost our wonderful condo that we loved. That changed our whole life. And Louis moved to Albuquerque, and didn't want to be in a big city, so that's where he went. And his mom lived there. Linda lived there. That was a good move for him, really good. And so roughly about 30 years.
30 years?
Yeah, about 30. Yeah.
Yeah, then I would have been 40 years old, because I think I was 10 or 11.
That's right.
So if I was 40, then I would have been living up in San Francisco at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of the year you guys got married. What year did you get married?
2001.
Wow.
Me and Nancy.
Yeah. I'll never forget. I don't know who I sat with. Some friends of hers, and the girl was really moody. Oh my God. She was sitting there and her boyfriend was there, and they were just going back and forth. It made us all uncomfortable. And then there was another couple, I didn't know them. They're all friends. I think they're probably friends of you guys. And they brought some food, appetizers and stuff. And I think they either brought tea or rice. I can't remember which one it was. But somebody wanted to know where the ketchup was.
In a Chinese restaurant?
In a Chinese restaurant. And the guy just flipped out. He's just looking at him and goes, ketchup. We don't have ketchup here. And they all started. They realized how silly they sounded. But yeah. Gosh, I don't know who they were.
I'll have to ask Nancy who you sat with.
Yeah.
I don't recall, but if it would have been
Yeah.
either you sat with some of Nancy's friends.
I think it was probably her friend.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend was a real hothead. He just kept looking at all of us, make sure we weren't bothering her. He said something about, if anybody bothers you, you let me know. And I'm just going, my God.
Do you remember the very first time that when you moved into the neighborhood, did my dad and mom come over and greet you guys? Or
Oh, yeah.
do you remember how that worked?
Yeah, it was really kind of spontaneous. We had just kind of gotten stuff going. We pulled a big old truck in. A bunch of the Dempsey boys helped. They live right next door to us in Manhattan Beach, and they were just sweetest guys. And young boys, they were probably 14, 15-year-olds, big old strong kids. And they helped us move, and it was really hard bringing them back and leaving them, because I didn't get to see them for a long time after that. But yeah, I mean, your dad, we're just kind of sitting out there, and he come over, and we talked, and he says, "What's your name?" And I told him my name. I said, "Joe Cusimano." And from that day on, that's what he called me. And I caught him on the phone, Joe Cusimano. And there's only one other guy that did that. That was a buddy of mine. It was a black buddy of mine that was in the service. Just a really wonderful man. And he do the same thing, but he spoke Italian.
Okay.
Yeah, so he lived in Pontiac, Michigan, and I called him up and we talk. Joe Cusimano, como va? He'd always start talking Italian. He was a wonderful guy, God. Yeah, he lived to be 92. He did really well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then your dad was there, and your mom come out and talked with Linda, and we just carried on, and that was the beginning of a wonderful friendship. Just wonderful. Yeah.
There weren't many people in the neighborhood probably when you moved in.
No, there weren't. It was pretty sparse. People were coming heavily because of there were new houses, and it was known as Dairy Valley at that time. And I remember in the middle 60s, working for some companies out there, and when the 605 freeway got built, driving through that thing, and there was nothing but open land and cows.
Yeah.
I says, who in God's name would live out here? Little did I know that I was going to be living there.
Yeah.
Yeah, my cousin Chuck was sometimes you don't realize what influence people are on your life, and he was one of them. He did a couple things, and he was about 8 years older than I am, but yeah, he got me there. He says, just buy one of these houses. So I'm just going, man, how much is the down payment? He says, $2,000. I says, $2,000? Holy cow. So my aunt says, don't worry, I'll give you the $2,000, you can pay me back. So I did that. That's how I got in. And man.
Where were you working at the time?
I was, being that, it's construction plumber, I was all over. Although I did get a few projects at home around Cypress, Lakewood, and that kind of stuff. But basically, most of the work was in Los Angeles. Matter of fact, the first couple of years I was driving down to Culver City. I'd leave in the dark in the morning and get home in the dark at night. It was about, it must have been about 70-mile drive one way. So, I was so glad when they laid me off. Oh, Lord. It was like finding my life. Yeah. And then, it just got to the point where more and more people come in. The longer you stayed, you got to know, Martinez and Slippers across the street. And then it just evolved. Life just happened. I mean, we're all playing baseball, soccer, football. We were an Indian guys. And I mean, it was a good move for the family.
Yeah.
It really was, because we're all we're all just striving for the same things, you know. And yeah, it was really a lot of years that we did all that. Went everywhere with that. And we traveled, so. And your dad and I, we always managed to do something. He always had a project, or I did, or something going in the house, always. And he always had lots of tools. He had more tools than I did. Of course, his garage was full of. Like,
I just remember all the neighbors always coming over.
Well, yeah.
And not knowing how to do, young guys.
Oh, yeah.
Just starting out their new families. And, And they'd come over, and Dad, of course, would give him a tool, and then he'd have to show him how to use the tool.
Yeah.
And the next thing I know, Dad's doing the job.
Yeah. Then he'd. Well, your dad could read schematics, like electrical schematic and stuff. People would have problems, and do you have an electrical problem in your car or whatever? And he'd read that stuff, and I just go, Frank, my God. I mean, that was a real talent, a real gift to be able to do that. He'd track a lot of stuff down. He had little ohm meters and doing stuff. Yeah. Yeah, I would love to have learned a little more of that.
Yeah.
And then we fixed everything. No matter what it was, we fixed it. He wasn't much for buying anything new. He just, I think my favorite story was your washing machine out there. For you guys, for you and your family. And that thing was going day and night, right? Just, and one day it just quit. It just gave up the ghost. And your dad's going, "No, we can fix that." He said, "It's just a drive in there. It probably needs a new belt. It needs that." So we took it all apart and looking in the back. God. And your mom was telling him, "Frank, go buy a new one. This thing's like 10 years old. It's got the 100,000-mile warranty is up. Go buy a new one." And he said, "Oh, I can fix it." So he got it all fixed up where it was running, and it didn't last long. As soon as we put a new part in there, it just got whatever was on the board. That new part generated the old parts just to crash. So he finally bought a clothes wash. My God.
Yeah, I would just remember, I don't think I think I personally worked on the washing machine just once.
Yeah.
But the dryer, specifically, I remember buying parts for that.
Oh, yeah.
At the commercial repair places that my dad would take me to.
Yeah.
That he knew. And fixing the dryer 3 or 4 times in my lifetime.
Dryers are pretty easy, yeah. Yeah. I mean, we won't talk about cars. I mean, we were always doing something with cars. Luckily, I had a little newer cars than your dad had, so mine weren't too bad, but they kept us busy. Yeah. It was okay. When your dad was younger, he had that big Oldsmobile. My God, and a couple of really big cars. Always the big station wagons.
Yeah, he bought that orange station wagon.
Yeah.
And I don't remember his name, from the neighbors directly across the street from us. He was a dealer.
Yeah, he was. His name was Bob, and he was a dealer down there by Olso Parkway. He worked for Cadillac. There was a Cadillac dealer, I think, and an Oldsmobile dealer. Yeah, I remember that. Of course, he had that 56 too. Do you remember that car? That black. It was. I think it was black and white.
Yeah, it was a black and white Oldsmobile.
Oh man, that was a beautiful car.
Yeah, that he had for a long time.
And when he sold that car, I'll never forget it, because he was out there, and I was out there with him, and the guy come up and took the car. And it's like collector's item today. And Frank's looking at the car, and the guy said, "Well, thank you." I forget. And the guy drove off, and your dad just stood there and watched the car go and just make the turn and disappear. It was like, part of me is gone. I mean, seriously, it was a serious moment. And well, let's move on. Let's see what else we can do.
Yeah, I remember that car from the Sacramento days.
Yeah.
When we were kids. I wasn't born in Sacramento.
Yeah.
I was born in San Francisco, but lived in San Francisco for 2 years, and then Mom and Dad moved to Sacramento for a job, I think. But I remember just as a young boy, 4, 5, 6 years old or something, and my dad would let me pull it out of the driveway and park it on the street or pull it back into the driveway.
Oh my God.
And
Yeah.
I'm a young kid, but I know long before I was 10 years old.
Yeah.
Just barely could see over the
Yeah.
steering wheel.
Well, yeah, that was definitely him. Definitely him. Yeah.
Something mechanical.
Yeah, and from there we went to, we got involved in, of course, golf was a big thing. We joined a golf group. I think they were from Gardena. It was Japanese Americans and Japanese, Hawaiian, and what's the other? The big and Samoan. Samoan group. And oh God, we'd go play golf in the morning, and they'd have luau's, and you'd leave in the morning, about 8 o'clock, and you wouldn't get home till it was dark because they had these big parties, and we had such a grand time. Food everywhere. And the Samoan guys were so big. Their feet were tremendously wide, and basically couldn't wear any golf shoes, so they didn't wear golf shoes. They played barefoot.
Barefoot?
Yeah. They were a hoot.
So was my dad a pretty good golfer?
Well, yeah. He could hit the ball nice, and neither one of us hit it real far, but we had 150, 180-yard drives, that kind of stuff, and a lot of chipping and putting was always the thing we liked the best. But we really had a good time. We played all over, and then we got into bowling. I think bowling was
definitely
it was
in the family bloodline. Not necessarily the Louis side of the family.
Yeah.
But on my mom's side, the Chang side, everybody bowled.
Yeah, that's right.
That was kind of a very popular sport in the day.
Yeah, they had, they'd go down there, he'd come out to go bowling. I never got into bowling. But he'd come out to go bowling, man, he'd have these shirts on. I'd go, Frank, my God. They were multiple colors, and, I don't know the name of the clubs anymore, but they really had a good time. Of course, there was always time, there was beer for him. I said, the only reason you want to go is you have you bet and you have a beer frame, or you stop halfway and have a beer. Yeah, he loved that bowling. Yeah, I remember that distinctly.
Yeah, I think my dad liked to socialize.
Total. Oh yeah, yeah. He just had a wonderful way with people at work, and of course, the Chinese dinners were impossibly. I would love to just have one of those dinners one more time, because they were just outstanding. And your dad ordered everything, and
yeah, Dad knew.
Yeah, and they
from
know.
Working in Auntie May's.
Yeah.
Well, not so much working at his sister's Auntie May, my Auntie May, his kitchen.
Yeah.
Down in the Mission District of San Francisco on
okay.
Valencia and 25th, I think, or 24th, one of the corner coffee shops. I think they worked that place for almost 40 years.
No kidding.
And I guess after World War II, I don't know how long. I never really heard the full story. Mm-hmm. But he worked in the cafe, I forget what the name of it was, for quite a few years.
Well, I always thought amazing, too, is that Ten Hu, was it?
Yeah, here in Orange County, yeah.
With that, he went to school with that guy or something?
He knew him somehow. I don't remember how.
Because the guy opened the room. We went in there a lot. We just walk in and didn't even have to. He'd call up earlier and tell him what he wanted. We'd walk in, and within 2 minutes, they were serving stuff. And
yeah, that was good food.
Ooh, it was wonderful.
Yeah.
Wonderful. We did that a lot of years, and then he had big gatherings from work. He'd get, 10, 12, 14 people from
all his
work.
Caucasian work friends.
All the Caucasian guys.
Because there weren't many Chinese restaurants in Orange County at the time.
We'd go down to L.A. Quite a bit when we first moved there, because they weren't there. There were no Chinese, and actually no Asian restaurants at all. Like Vietnam, not like now with Vietnamese. And, there's all kinds of restaurants that were not then. We go downtown L.A. from there more than once. Yep. At the winter, I remember the first time we went down there, he ordered this winter melon soup.
Yeah, like we used to grow in the backyard.
Yeah, here's this big melon, and they'd cut it out and made all these wonderful designs on it, and the soup was in it. It was, oh man, it was really, really impressive.
Yeah, I don't know that I've had winter melon soup in probably 40 years.
I don't even know where to get it anymore.
Yeah.
But you know, just adventures like that. I mean, and you know, I always tell everybody we used to go down and do clamming, you know, Huntington Beach when they had clams there. And God, your dad would bring everything. I mean, tables, chairs. God, we'd get out there. It'd be
I think that was more of my mom's doing.
probably tables and chairs and this and that. And we go, Frank, we're not moving. We're just going to the beach. And at the time, they didn't have these little chairs like they have today.
Yeah, full size.
They just, you had
beach chairs.
You had regular chairs you use in the house to play cards or something. Card table chairs. Oh God, we get down there and you could build a fire and you know you'd
Huntington
get the
Beach.
clams, yeah.
Yeah.
And then they had, then a red tide come in there. Oh, I don't know, after several years of doing that, a red tide come in and just wiped everything out. And I guess it had to go through this recycling system. And they came back, but by then it was several years later before you could start going in there because it just wasn't healthy to eat them. Yeah. Yeah, and you guys did some adventurous work too. You went down to Baja. I remember that one trip. That was
Yeah.
That was.
I remember. I don't remember why we went exactly.
Yeah.
But taking the orange Oldsmobile station wagon.
Yeah.
The thing was a beast.
Yeah, you guys.
And we drove all the way down to Ensenada.
Mm-hmm. And you went across the border.
Oh yeah, well, Mexican border.
Yeah.
And so we went past Tijuana, and the next major town is Ensenada, which is quite a ways south.
Oh yeah.
And I remember stopping at some port city or something, and just the roads were kind of washed out, and it's like we're going there, we're going that way. But we made it for lunch and did a little sightseeing just for the afternoon, and pretty much came back to San Diego or something. I don't remember staying overnight.
Well, I remember because we did a lot of diving down there over the years, and your dad was showing me one road they went down that led to Pueblo something or other. I can't remember, but it was way off. It was going to Ensenada, and then the one road, Pueblo del Cito or something like that. And if you went to this town, it's where the whales came in.
Yeah.
And
sightseeing.
Yeah, and
whale watching.
Yeah, I don't know. He said he went down there for a long road. He said, and he turned back when it turned into a dirt road. I said, yeah, probably a good idea, because it was about 60 miles or more before you get to there. Yeah, adventuresome.
Yeah, I remember. We didn't go to a lot of places.
Yeah.
But I just remembered, there's something about just picking up and going.
Just go, yeah.
I don't know that we ever discussed this, like get in the car.
Yep, probably the best. With 4 kids, I don't think it was a good idea to discuss anything about where you wanted to go. Yeah.
Well, in those days, there was that third back seat.
Yep.
In the back of the station wagon that faced backwards.
That's right.
So we had the old Chevy station wagon. That was like green, and that did that same thing. And then when we bought the Oldsmobile, that was the style of the station wagons at the time.
60s. Yeah, those. I mean, you think about the cars we had and what goes on today. My gosh. But we made it, and we had good times with all that stuff. But we were always heading someplace, especially with the golf. I mean, we had such a good time golfing. I mean, we really did. And we played with Ben. Do you remember Ben? You remember Ben?
A friend named Ben?
Of your dad's, Ben.
Well, there's my Uncle Ben.
Okay.
In Sacramento, but I don't know that he was a golfer.
No, this guy's name was Ben. He owned some kind of a market around there. I can't.
Oh, yeah. There was another.
Real quiet, easygoing guy.
Yeah.
Just the nicest man.
Can't remember his last name now.
And I don't remember if Don. I don't think Don ever played.
Yeah, Don played golf, but I he was never in town long enough.
Yeah.
The only time Uncle Don would be in town, Don Jung,
Yeah.
was when he's coming off a commercial ship and
Yeah.
he's on layover a little bit while they unloaded, all the stuff via cargo nets.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember
This is
that.
before the shipping container years of the 1970s.
Yeah, that's true. I forget he was in that merchant marine guy. Huh. Yeah, he was another. He'd come into town, the first thing, he says, Don, sir, come over. So I would tell Linda, well, I says, I'm sure we're going to have a snort. So Don said, we're going to have a drink. And sure enough, Don was always so friendly and a happy guy, Don was always.
Yeah.
And
he liked what he did. He
he loved it. He loved it. You want to have, and we'd have a drink and talk and carry on and tell stories and where were you? And he'd talk about where he was. And yeah, I would think that'd be a wonderful life.
Yeah, mostly traveling to the Orient.
Yeah.
But I know that he'd gone to other places in Asia.
Mm-hmm.
Not much, as I recall, into the Europe area.
No.
But mostly Asian ships, going back and forth across the Pacific.
Yeah.
Going slow. The boats didn't go very fast in those days.
No. I was trying to think of his wife's name. I couldn't. You remember?
Mabel
That's
Chang.
right. She was always friendly
Chung.
too. Yeah. Yeah. Phew. So long ago. Wow. Everything is.
Lots of time
Everything's
gone
60
by.
years old now. Everything's 60 years.
Yeah, you
It's
might
more
have.
than that with your dad when I met your
Yeah.
dad.
You might have met almost everybody
fif-
in my
I mean,
mom's side of
50
the
years.
family
Yeah. Yeah.
because they'd all come down, go to
June.
Disneyland.
Remember June?
June.
June. I think it was somebody on your mom's side, June. She was a nice lady. I can't remember their last names to save me.
Might have been a personal friend
Yeah.
that was named June.
Maybe.
Yeah.
But yeah, we got to know a lot of them. Well, your mom was always. I mean, your mother used to make those on Father's Day for us guys. She'd make those little. She'd fry these things up like a. I don't know, like a. They're like a.
Like a 1 ton?
Yeah, wonton. These are crunchy.
Yeah, crunchy 1 tons.
Yeah.
Yeah, deep fried 1 tons.
Yeah, she'd make those for us guys.
Yeah, instead of putting them in a soup.
Yeah, Happy Father's Day.
There's a little-
She'd tell
yeah.
us. Yeah, I remember that distinctly. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she was. Your dad and her. Oh, should I answer that?
Yeah, pick it up.
See
See who it is.
Why can't I see it? Oh, it's Wu. Let me tell her. Give me a second. Hi, Shirley. Hello. Maybe she. Are you there? Oh, well.
Call her back.
She must have asked me. No, I'm not gonna call.
Butt dial.
Yeah, 'cause she'll want to talk. Oh, here she goes. Hello.
Returning your call.
Oh. How
Yeah.
the heck? When did you get back?
Let me see. Wednesday.
Ah.
But I've been flat on my back with jet lag.
Yeah, I know the feeling. I had the same thing.
How did you get rid of it?
Just slept it off.
Yeah.
That's all you can do.
like- exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
you know the number on that, right? The number is, the equation is for every hour you fly, it'll take you 3 hours to get rested up and get over it. That's the number.
So for every hour I float. Let me see. I went from from Barcelona to Charles de Gaulle, and got on the Charles de Gaulle Paris back here. So it was like a 13-hour
Yeah.
flight.
Okay, so
Okay.
just multiply that by 3. It's like 39 hours to rest up to get it back to normal.
Oh my God! Well, I don't think it's happened. Yeah, I've been sleeping and sleeping,
Good.
and I haven't been feeling, just like
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
that's it. Huh?
No energy. I understand. our trips were the same, and ours was like 15 hours back, but
Yep.
we were in coach, so I got to sleep about 6 hours in that setup they had there. But
Oh,
when I got home, I had no energy whatsoever, none.
absolutely not.
I didn't play golf. I didn't rake up the leaves. I didn't do anything.
Yep. I absolutely know, and I'm thinking I'm still fighting it. So.
Yeah. Well, anyway, I told Paula, I talked to her a little bit, and I
Uh-huh.
said when everybody gets around, I says we'll have to have a show and tell.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get
We will.
just get a few pictures, and maybe we can meet over her place or meet somewhere, huh?
We'll meet over here.
Yeah. Yeah.
It might be I may be in between.
Yeah. That'd be
Yeah.
fine.
Yeah.
Right. Well, good.
Okay.
All right. Well, you
So
get
just
some
checking
rest.
in.
Okay.
Yeah, just checking
Wonderful.
in.
Wonderful. We'll talk soon.
Yes, we will.
Okay, sweetie.
Take
Thanks
care.
so much. Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
I don't know what it's.
Who was that?
That was Shirley Wu. She's Jeannie's old boss. She's Chinese, American, of course, and she's just been a wonderful friend. Her and Jeannie were just they were inseparable at work because Jeannie had this ability and this gift to recall. They worked in staff relations. They worked with discipline, and they worked. They were like a law office for the district.
Okay.
And she could recall, they talk about things that happened in cases, and, they would try to check, well, this sounds familiar, and what do you think happened? Well, there's a case, blah, 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 a few years ago soon, and she'd be able to recall that. She just had this gift in her. People couldn't believe it, and she just did that. She had a lot of memory things she did. Birthday, she could remember everybody's birthday and just about everything about them. Yeah. Yeah. She trained a guy at the school district to go on Jeopardy, and he won 3 times.
Really?
Yeah, I said, "Why don't you go?" And I said, "That's not me." Jeopardy.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, that's a gift.
Oh, that's totally.
Being able to remember and recall things.
Yeah, Kevin has it. Kevin can remember stuff he's like 3 or 4 years old. Vividly. He would describe things. Yeah. And his dad was gifted, and they get it from his mom Jeannie's mom was a very bright woman too. So they got all those genes, and they work.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep. That helps. I used to say, now I know why these women that are having children are looking at a guy that they want to surrogate, and how tall he is, has got hair, and what his IQ is, and what he's interested in. Trying to create the perfect person.
Yeah. Well,
Good luck with that.
just like in Mother Nature,
Yeah.
the birds that,
Yeah.
do all their little fancy dances and show all their colors, just trying to
It's like
distinguish themselves.
It's like with our family. There's only one person that really got to be as big as my grandfather. My grandfather was like 6'2", and the rest of us are all like 5'5", 5'3", 5'6", and shrinking. Really shrinking. Wow, I'm just gone. Anyway, yeah, and we keep in touch, and she's 80 some years old. She's having some memory problems, and
Where's she living?
she lives in Burbank.
Okay.
We actually, when I think about it, we probably should have moved to Burbank, because that's basically all of our friends were in that Central Valley. The valley was close.
You mean you and Jeannie?
Yeah, after the earthquake took us out. But, we did okay here, though. Anyway, yeah. Yep. We moved quite a few times when we were first married. Gosh. Particular, remember one incident where we were down in, I think it was Hawthorne, a real cute house. We moved into, rented it. We were in there about maybe 2 months. The guy comes over. He says, "I hate to tell you this." He says, "But we sold the house." We'd only been in there 2 months. And I said, "You sold the house?" He said, "Yeah." He said, "I'm sorry." He said, Well, he really wasn't that apologetic. I said, did you know was it for sale when we moved in? And I don't remember if it was or not, but I'm sure they were thinking about it.
Yeah.
I said, you probably should have said something to me so we wouldn't have moved in.
Yeah, really.
Yeah.
Just the expense on your end to move.
And all that. Well, luckily, I mean, we didn't have a lot of stuff. So he could do it all in one move. But
Yeah, but still, good business practices.
yeah. Well, that's when we moved to Manhattan Beach on Aviation. We were right on that street. It was like a freeway.
Yeah.
Oh, God, and we lived right on the street. Trucks would come by and boom, the whole house would shake. We were there probably 3 or 4 years. Well, anyway.
Tell me, I never heard this story because I never bothered to ask. But tell me how you met Jeannie.
Oh, well, we both worked for LA Unified School District, and at the time I was one of the construction plumbers, maintenance plumber, whatever they wanted me to do, I did. And
Blue collar worker.
Yeah, worked on all the sites and whatever. Our job was to make sure everything stayed open. We had a lot of schools. Well, at that time, LA City Schools had about 800,000 students, and they were 700 square miles. The complex, some 11,000 buildings. Yeah, there's a lot of work, a lot of deferred maintenance, a lot of stuff that had to be done. Buildings were, at the time, buildings were not quite 100 years old. Most of the buildings they built were like 75 years old. And when I went to work for them in 1976, the turn of the century. But yeah, she was in an administrative office. She was doing personnel work at that time. She hadn't promoted yet. And I'd see her, and she'd see me. And one afternoon, I was up at the credit union, and I was sitting there. I was getting some business there, and she came walking in, and we sat next to each other. And I said, I see you all the time. And she said, yeah, I see you too. I just wondered who you are. Yeah, so I'm wondering who you are too. And we got to talking, carrying on. And we talked for about a half hour, and then I got up and I left, and she got up and I got up and left, and then she came out and she waved to me, and I stopped, and she put her hand on my arm and she said, you need to call me. She says, I said, yeah, I know. I said, I'm going through some, personal stuff that's not too pleasant. I said, well, and so she gave me her phone number.
Yeah.
Of course, then about 3 weeks later, I said, I'll call her. I said, I don't want to be too, I don't know what I wanted to be. There was a lot going on. So I couldn't find her phone number. And I'm going, shit. So I called one of her best friends over in personnel, Paula. And I said, you know who I am, right? Yeah. She said, I've seen you around. You're a nice guy, blah, blah, blah. I said, well, Jeannie Schultz, her last name was Schultz. I said, Jeannie Schultz Lockoff, give me her phone number. And hate to say it, but I lost it. And I said, I'd like to call her. She wanted me to call her. Well, I can't give it to you. I said, okay. She says, let me call her and see if it's okay. So she called her up, and she says, then she gets back on the phone. She says, yeah, I called Jeannie and said that you lost the phone number. And she says, oh, no, not one of those. So that's how it all got started. Yeah.
You finally got her number.
Yeah, I got her number.
Called her.
We had lunch a few times, and then it just...
and what year was that? Remember?
Yeah, 1983. I remember distinctly.
Okay.
Yeah, it was 40 years old there. Wow.
But how is it that you're a plumber and she's an administrative person in offices?
Yeah.
Why would you be in the same place at the same time?
Well, because there was always, at the time we took care of everything, and all the bathrooms,
Right.
and any problems on the site. I mean, with plumbing, and we had a lot of. I did mostly the new construction work, so they were always building something.
Right.
In particular, offices. They were always taking offices, and people get promoted, and they'd want this or they'd want that. And then I worked on an administrative site, and there was always changes going through there with the superintendent. New superintendent come in. Well, I want this and I want that. Or I want new wall. I want new paper. Yeah. So that's how we got to know each other. I got to know a lot of people that way.
Okay.
Working at it as that. And then they decided they wanted to have a project manager, and I was the one that became the trial project manager. So I did that for about a year, and they ended up appointing a project manager into this. There's 7 different areas, and they handled, all the maintenance, operations, and new construction. It was a monster job. Monster. Wow. Yeah, I had 41 school sites at one time.
Wow.
Yeah, and I go to every one of them every week. Stop by. I had to see what's going on.
And then, of course, you had a crew.
Big crew.
And then, of course, there were on-site people.
Oh, all over the place. Yeah, all the custodians. They give us all the custodians, which we could have done without. There was a couple of hundred of those. We had to go see what they're doing and check in their operations, And then the principals were never happy with the custodians. Never.
Because they were unskilled?
Well, they were unskilled, and they were. There was a big rotation of them, and not very many of them would stay on the site for like years.
Yeah.
They worked a couple of years. They were minimum wage, so, and the work was hard. There was hard work, especially in the summertime. Summertime was a very hard process of any kind of tile floors. They'd have to go in and they'd have to remove the wax and then re-wax them, and really hard work in the summer. But generally, we got stuff done. Yeah, and then Jeannie promoted. She promoted the administrative site, and then she became a kind of a big shot up there. Though she never thought she was. She would never think that. I remember one time the superintendent of schools was talking to her and told her, told her, well, I think you're probably the smartest person that I know.
Yeah.
Yeah, he told her that. And she looked at him, she says, if I'm the smartest person here, you have problems. And he just started laughing. Yeah, but that was her. She would never, toot her own horn. It just wasn't her. She'd get a lot of work done. And she loved working with Shirley. They were just buddies, and we did a lot of things. We all went out, we partied, and over the years, it was really a gift to have that. Yeah. So we were together, well, after I squared everything up, Linda and I, and we were together about 8 years, and then we got married in 92. Yeah. Yeah, 9 years. Whoa. Yeah. Everybody go, are you guys ever going to get me? Yeah. So we got 30, we were together 39 years, which was great.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, we ended up, we were the first original sinners. We ended up living together for about, let's see, a year, probably 8 years.
Yeah.
About 8 years. Yeah.
Fun times. I
don't know where it went to. Yeah.
Travel map and everything?
Our traveling was, we went someplace at least twice a year with the school board. We'd go 2-week intervals, and yeah, our first trip was to Machu Picchu, Peru in 84. Yeah, 84, 85. Yeah, I think it was 84, and we went everywhere after that. We were fortunate enough. We had good jobs. Things weren't outrageous.
Yeah.
Like today, you could travel. And if you spent, a few $1,000 with planes and rooms and everything else, that was a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, but what I find interesting is that when I remember back to 1987 and 1989, when I took 2 one-month trips to Europe, I remember flying on Pan Am in '89, and I think my ticket was right around $900.
Wow.
Now today, granted, I don't generally fly coach seats anymore.
Yeah.
I try and buy the premium economy seats, which are much bigger and softer, and they recline back and everything. But if I buy a coach ticket today, I could probably buy for $500
Yeah.
to go from LAX to London. Cheap,
Yeah.
cheap. And this
Yes.
is in today's dollars.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because in 1989, $900 was a lot of money.
Yeah, it's totally different. Yeah, the fares. I mean, I'm experiencing that now. I mean, but it's so difficult just getting there because everything is a 2-stop now. You can't hardly fly anywhere.
Unless you fly in an international airline that goes
Yeah.
nonstop West Coast all the way to Europe.
That's why when we went to Israel recently. We flew El Al, and it was straight through, and it was wonderful. 14, 15-hour flight. And it was old school. I mean, they served a meal. We went midnight. And they served a meal after a couple of hours, a little light meal. And then they had something about maybe 7 hours into the flight. 5 hours, they had a full meal, and then at breakfast time they woke you up about an hour and a half or about 2 hours before you landed.
Yeah.
Served a wonderful breakfast. The food was decent. Yeah, and they were just so attentive, just wonderful. Those girls, those women. It was like all women. There was one guy, really good. Yeah. So I'm ready to go again if I could do that.
Back to Israel.
Somewhere. Yeah, I don't know.
Or
where.
somewhere in Europe.
Yeah. I've been pushing my son Kevin, Jeannie's son, and his wife and my 2 grandkids to go to the Galapagos Islands before they get too big, because that is them. They're so outdoorsy. They camp. They're Boy Scouts and they do all that stuff. And they're just people that are outside doing stuff. They hike almost every morning.
Yeah, different.
And that trip is, it's a boat. In the morning, you go on one of the islands, you look around, there's different species, and then in the afternoon, you go and you do a water thing. And the ocean has actually more things in it than the land.
Probably.
Just incredible place. Yeah. So they want me to go, and I go, you know what? I said, I think it's a little too much for me. I said, just drag you down. You guys go. Yeah.
It's a travel group that you hang out with?
Yeah. Yeah.
But your retirees?
Not
Not necessarily.
No, Jeannie and I really, in all the trips we took, I don't know how many we took, 30 maybe around someplace in the world over the years. And that isn't counting cruises either. But we basically never traveled with too many people. We traveled a cruise. We went to, where the hell did we go? South America. Went through the Mediterranean, through the Panama Canal, and up to some islands and stuff, and with a group from work. And that was cool because you didn't have to decide where you're going to eat.
Yeah.
And that's half the battle. Where would you like to eat? Well, anywhere. What do you feel like? Well, that kind. And you're out there talking, and there's so many different interests. So we decided once we got into a town to visit, you just do your own thing.
Yeah.
And we'll meet up, at the ship, and it was great. That worked really good. But we never did car trips with anyone because we went to, let's say, Sicily. We've been to Sicily a few times now. I can't remember. But, we go to Catania. We'd land in Catania, and and that would be our starting point. Well, we never had any place to stay because you didn't need that. You didn't have to have a hotel or anything else because you drive to a town, you go to the center of town, and you say, you know anybody that wants to rent a room? And boom,
Yeah.
you're sitting there, here comes a guy on a little bike, motorcycle. You're looking for a room? Yeah, you want to look at this? And you go look, and that's the way we did it. Not many people wanted to do that. Croatia.
That was though back in the day, right?
Yeah. I mean, just
You know,
a
30
few
years ago.
No, not even that long. We
No?
were in Croatia recently, and we did Croatia like that. It was wonderful. Yeah, go to islands, and people were great. Yeah. I don't know how long ago that was. I can't remember. Not too long ago though. And
Yeah.
I mean, and we traveled. The last trip we took together was 2021. We went to the Caribbean right after COVID, and the ship was all guarded and set up to, mask and social distancing, and it's supposed to hold 600 people. And when we got there was only about 400 on the ship. So it was just great. And when we got to St. Lucia, and all those other little islands, St. John, so forth. We got there, and when we went into town, and the people were so glad to see us because they hadn't worked in 2 years because of COVID.
Oh,
None of the
COVID,
ships showed up. Yeah. It was great. So that was our last trip before we had to move on. Yeah. I don't know.
Yep, COVID has slowed down a lot of economies.
Oh, yeah.
And San Francisco, I know, is suffering because Silicon Valley, .com corporate America still has not really gone back to work.
No.
And a lot of the restaurants and hotels and things in downtown San Francisco are just too vacant.
Yeah.
I mean, there's tourism, but, it's not high-end tourism
No.
like the trade shows and all the big companies coming to conventions and that kind of stuff.
Well, San Francisco, you don't see it because you live there, but here they talk constantly how the city is really changing over, and it's not safe, and the actual wharf, the downtown part of it is not safe, and people are writing in and talking about how
Yeah, crime is up,
they
definitely.
got they can't leave their cars with the windows open. They leave them down. They put notes in them. There's nothing in this car.
Yeah,
and they still.
that's been a problem for like
It's a while. Yeah.
30 years.
See, they don't say that. They just this is what's going on,
because it's up.
and people makes them nervous. So I know Europeans love San Francisco. They love it.
It's easy to get to.
Yeah.
I mean, any city is easy to get to, but it's a really small town. It's barely
Very.
5 miles by 5 miles.
Yeah, it's very small. Yeah.
And so, it's like a lot of London or Paris or Rome. Everything is kind of all in one area. You kind of walk to it,
Yep.
other than you don't want to walk up a San Francisco hill. Pretty steep sometimes.
Yeah, we went there a few years ago, and we walked into town. We were about 1.5 miles from town, and we went up to, I can't remember the streets even. And when we got back to the hotel, the guy said, have you been into town? He thought a cab left us. I says, no, it's a beautiful day. We got up, it was about 10, and we said, let's walk. It's about 1 mile or something down there, 1.5 miles. I says, and we'll have lunch.
Yeah.
And I told him where we went. He goes, you went through that?
That area?
Area? I said, yeah. Oh my God. You didn't talk to anybody about that? I said, no. I said, it was okay. No, it wasn't okay. He was just, please don't, if you're going to go out, walk, let me know where you're going so I can give you so you're safe. Nobody bothered us. I mean, there's people in the streets Nobody bothered us. They just walk just walk around them or don't pay attention to them. There's always somebody wants attention. But, being that we're Los Angeles people, we know what that's like. Hell, we've had people jump out of the bushes in L.A.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the one incident with Jeannie. Oh my God. Yeah. I guess as long as you stay out of harm's way, you're okay.
Yeah, I remember there was an article in the newspaper, San Francisco, and there was a number that was published that if there was no tourism in San Francisco, for every person who lives in San Francisco, they would have to pay $9,509 more per person.
Yeah.
Because of all the tourism.
Yeah.
Essentially pays for the sewer maintenance,
Everything.
and
Yeah.
just so much of how to keep an old city running.
Well, that was what I was always so amazed about Cyprus. They built that industrial park close to where we live, and I remember when they put up that trucking company, and then they put up that big wall because it blocked the view of the mountains. It was gorgeous, all the snow and stuff. But by doing what they did, I mean, it subsidized everything in Cyprus. It was a great idea, great idea. They even had Ferrari in there at one time.
Yeah.
Yeah, which was, I said, Ferrari? Who the heck can afford a Ferrari in Cyprus? Must be them guys selling the land, right?
Not me.
Oof.
But
Yeah.
yeah. I think that that whole industrial complex there. I mean, all the strawberry fields that used to be there.
Trying to think of the name of it. Something with a W. I cannot think of the name of that place, the company that did that. But yeah, some really, really good business, good planning on that for them. Yeah. Yeah. And what else in that neighborhood? Of course, when we moved into that neighborhood, it was still very wild, and coming down Orangewood. I don't know if you remember, there was a stream that ran right along Orangewood, and it was a spring fed.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the kids were always in there. There was everything in there, including just, you didn't want your kids in there, but they'd go down and play, and they'd bring stuff home with them, and then the park, which was at that time, everybody would. There wasn't so much going on with children and kids getting, abducted or any of that. There wasn't any of that. But I never felt like it was a good place for a park because it was right down the road if somebody wanted to come in and do something. And everybody used to take their campers at night. They'd take their campers and bring them and park them on the street. And then at night, they'd drive them out there and park them next to the park because they give more room. Man, I never got into camping like that. But there's a lot of just single things, and people stayed a long time. I mean,
Yeah, they did.
they
That's what I
stayed a long
noticed.
time.
Yeah.
And there's still people that that've been there.
I don't see very many for sale signs,
No,
when I
no,
go 2,
I
3,
know.
4 times a year.
Yeah.
There was a time where, though, there was a lot of swapping of
yeah.
people coming,
yeah. Well,
coming
they
and going.
Yeah, well, they were building, when all the new houses were building, right across Valley View there, they built these houses. And those houses were $41,000. I said, who in God's name would pay $41,000 for, they were probably 2,000 to 2,500 square foot houses. And I'm going, oh my God, who would pay that kind of money? 41,000. It was just maybe 4 or 5 years after,
Yeah.
before everything went crazy. So, yeah. I don't know. We probably should have moved then too. Once you get situated, once you have children, you don't want to. You don't move. You just wait. You wait. And when then they grow into it and they leave, and then you think about moving. But I really wanted to have a little more of a lot.
More space.
Yeah, and then we came here. I mean, in Fallbrook. Wow, this is. I mean, I spent 5 years working on the lots outside, and I still look at it and I go, why did I put all these beautiful portacarpus up? Made this beautiful fence-like, just privacy thing. It was beautiful. And then I got here and I stopped. I should have done the whole property. Why did I not continue that? I'm going,
Time mostly.
just
Not
just
enough
never.
time to think about it.
My my intuition, my imagination was kind of just stopped. Because it would have been a beautiful, really a park, like if I'd have done that. I could still do it. I planted bamboo. I got bamboo happy. So, yeah.
Just the evolution over time.
Yeah, I know. I never had a real concept of what I wanted to do with it. So we get to working on something, and although Linda and I, we traveled with the kids. I mean, we took them to Hawaii, and we went to Cancun in 78 with some friends. And there was really nothing down there then. Oh my God, nothing. The only thing down there was the president of Mexico had this huge estate. It was surrounded by troops. And the Shah of Iran, can you imagine?
Showed up?
The Shah of Iran had a house there, too.
Okay. Permanent residence.
Yeah, surrounded by troops. Man. And that was it. A couple of bars. They had a few hotels. And they were building like crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, I've been there once to Cancun for work.
Yeah.
I had to go down for a webcast. I think it was Farmers Insurance.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I was doing some, corporate high-level meeting, and just flew a bunch of people down for the boondoggle. Had to rent a satellite truck from Mexico City, have them drive it all the way out to Cancun.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, a big production,
Yeah.
but, run of the mill for me. But that's the only time I was there. I wasn't particularly impressed by it.
So what'd you do when you were there?
Oh, it's production manager, encoding engineer, in charge of video production, and
Just
You
the,
know,
what
just
were you
the
doing it
technical
on?
stuff.
The city? Cancun?
well, it was they took over some large hotel and
Yeah.
big convention area, and they had a few hundred people in these meetings, and they wanted to webcast it to the rest of the company worldwide. So that was obviously what I'm still doing here today. Even with this little production here
Yeah, very
in your
little.
living room.
Yeah, this is about as sparse as you're gonna get. Jesus, this room. I'm just laughing. I'm saying I was gonna send Kurt some pictures of it.
Yeah.
Jeez, I
But,
said.
yeah.
I got up this morning going, oh my God, how am I gonna get around my living room? Where am I gonna have my breakfast?
Yeah, well, you don't see most of it from the camera perspective, because the cameras are all focused on you and me.
Yeah.
I got, the monitor back here with your little title slide, and so I can see what's going on, and I'm switching the cameras while we're chit-chatting.
Yeah.
But that's the service. That's unofficially called the Grandparent Project,
Oh,
which
yeah. That's
you're a
me.
grandparent now.
I'm going to be a great grandparent.
Yeah.
Here in September, is it? Yeah.
Yeah, just to kind of get some of your memories and thoughts, down on videotape.
Yeah. There's so much. I mean, in the years we lived in Cyprus, I mean, there was always a lot going there,
Yeah.
and the one thing that there's a couple things that I really would go, oh, it can't be time again, and that was when school would let out. Okay.
At the summertime, or
Yeah.
like 3 o'clock?
Summertime.
Summertime.
Ending the school year. And I'd come home, and there'd always be somebody at my door waiting for me to tell me what is wrong with your kids. Because Kurt and Kenny, they were a little older, and they were always doing stuff. And then there was a family across the street, and they didn't like Louis. No matter what Louis did, if something went wrong, he got blamed for it, no matter what. And he probably did, because he was a little stinker. And I'd come home, and there'd be somebody waiting for me, and about, your kids did this. Then there was a lady 2 doors down from next to Martinez, and she just hated kids. So, and they'd run across her yard, and they'd go into the back on somebody else's property and look over the fence, and she'd come in. She'd just rant and rave, and the world is going to hell in a basket, your kids, and that went on for about 3 or 4 years. I used to hate to go home. I was waiting, and then one time I came home, nobody was there, and nobody was around. I
Right.
says, "Oh man, they probably called the cops and they hauled all the kids out." That's all I could think of. I said, "Why isn't anybody around here?" Well, they were like blocks away harassing somebody else. Oh God, just stuff.
Childhood in the day.
Oh my God.
Just testing the limits.
There was no tolerance for anything there. God. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely a transitional time.
I don't know. I don't know who's still there. I mean, the only ones I know is, well, I really don't know. It's Martinez. I think the last time I saw Tony was about 10 years ago, maybe.
Yeah, I think he's still there. I think I haven't spoken to him maybe in a couple of years with COVID, but I think he was outside.
Yeah.
And, I
Riley.
walked over and just said, hi.
I think Riley's still there too.
And then Mrs. Slipper, ex-Mrs. Slipper,
Yeah.
still across the street from you.
Oh, she's still there?
Yeah,
Yeah.
pretty much retired.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Well, the O'Neills on the other side of our house
Yeah.
from you.
Yeah, the O'Neills.
I mean, he wasn't there originally because Bill Carey was the original owner of that house
Right.
until he moved back to New York, working for Macy's or something like that. I remember I visited him once,
Yeah. Yeah.
1985, I think.
Yeah.
Motorcycle trip. I went to New York.
Oh,
and
I remember that.
drove
Yeah.
out to his place
Yeah.
and stayed the night at his place.
Yeah.
But yeah, the neighborhood is different. A lot of the homes have been remodeled, and like you
I
were
bet.
one of the first to build a 2-story on
Yeah.
top. And
Yeah. That glass work of Martinez, that she did the colored glass in church, and he goes, "I don't have to go to church now. Just look at your property." Something like that.
yeah,
Yeah, when we moved in there after the '94 quake, we spent a year looking around. There were no houses available, nothing to buy anywhere, and Jeannie did not want to go back to our nice. We really had a wonderful condo, and she says, and what happened was, people started moving back in after we completed the work. About a year later, year and a half. Excuse me, about 2 years, and it turned out beautifully. They did a lot of different things, and there was a young teenage kid and his mom, and they were in their apartment, and somebody broke in,
okay,
and I guess the kid, was really raising hell, and the guy was, I don't know exactly the incident, but they had to call the cops, and Jeannie says, "I'm not moving in there because things are changing." It really scared her.